The Chicago Bulls get their fourth straight win in epic fashion as they beat the Boston Celtics 114 to 111. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win, along with Derrick Rose getting his jersey retired tonight. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win against the Boston Celtics. And so I always like to start with the points that describe what we saw in tonight's game. And so I have two. And the first one being that this was an incredible game. This was a game that went back and forth. It had 17 plus lead changes. And it was interesting because at halftime, there was only two players that were in double figures, and that was Jaylen Brown and Anthony Simons there of the Boston Celtics. And so they had the two best players there going into half, but still the Bulls hung right in. And I just love the fact that the Bulls came out aggressive, especially shooting the three ball, because this team has been very hot over the last couple games from three. That continued in this game. In fact, at one point, they had outscored the Celtics by 15 plus points, I think, from three. This is now 4 games in which the Bulls have had at least 20 or more threes. And now this is the most threes in a 4-game span. So in franchise history, they've had the most threes in a 4-game span. So the Bulls getting it done there. And this game went down to the clutch. And the Chicago Bulls got it done again. And so they were 15-11 coming into this game. They're now 16-11 because it came down to a final shot. Kevin Huerter able to knock down a three in the corner as he was able to shake loose. And so the Bulls get it done on a last-second shot there. And so just an incredible win here for the Chicago Bulls as they are now over 500 for the first time in 2 months. And so that leads me to point number 2 in this game. And just what a special night, because Derrick Rose, after the game, they go ahead and they reveal his jersey in the rafters there. And so, look, it was terrific just to look at just the speech that he had. I thought it was incredible with what he talked about. I love the fact that they had Taj Gibson out there. They had Coach Thibodeau. They had Joakim Noah out there. You saw all his teammates, and you could just really tell how tight this team was when he was there leading them and everything else. And so I just love the speech, man, because he did not read off of anything, no notes, anything like that. And it was a powerful speech. And so it was, if you get a chance, make sure you go back and you watch that. And so now Derrick Rose, he joins Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Bob Love, and Jerry Sloan as the only players to get their jersey retired with the Chicago Bulls franchise. And so those are the 2 points. Incredible game and a special night here in regards to Derrick Rose, which we'll talk about that a little bit more here shortly. And so now I wanted to go ahead and jump into this, just the player box scores. We're going to take a look at the starters. We're also going to take a look at the bench. And so let's go ahead and let's start with our starters here. And so starting with Coby White. So Coby White in this game, 22 points. He was a +5 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 turnovers. He had 7 assists. He was 5 of 5 from deep, 5 of 9 from downtown, and 6 of 16 from the field in 32 minutes. And so, look, Coby White came out aggressive. He was looking for the 3 ball. He did struggle with the turnovers there. He just was a bit sped up there at times, but I love the fact that Coby White was attacking. And I also like the fact that late in the game, he got Billy Donovan to challenge a play because it did go off of a Boston Celtics player where he was battling for a loose ball on the baseline. And so I just love the emotion that we saw from Coby White. But more importantly, I'm just liking what we're seeing from him. It looks like that he's ramping up. He's getting over the 30 minutes now, and I think that he's really turning the page here on those calf injuries. And so hopefully he is able to finish strong here this season. And so Coby White, I like the aggressive play from him tonight, even though he had a tough time with the turnovers. And so next with Vooch. And so with Vooch, Look, I was getting frustrated with Vooch because the Boston Celtics were going small, and it felt like that he had some advantages inside. But I will give Vooch a lot of credit because Vooch really did start to turn it on in the second half. I think he got on a little bit of a heater there. He started to get these hook shots and things like that, and he got it going in the fourth quarter. And so I like the fact that he got that going. He had a nice little block too in the fourth quarter as well. And so Vooch almost comes in and flirts with, like, a triple double here, but 16 points. He was a -7 in the plus minus box score. He had the 2 blocks. He had 1 steal. He had 6 assists. He had 7 rebounds. He was 2 of 2 from downtown and 7 of 10 from the field in 35 minutes. Again, Vooch really turned it on, especially in the fourth quarter. Next, Modest Buzelis. And so with Modest Buzelis, he continues to take steps forward. I know he didn't get to 15 points tonight, but I liked his game. And so 14 points, a plus 15 in the plus minus box score. He did have 2 turnovers in this game. He had 5 assists, 8 rebounds in this one, 4 of 10 from downtown and 5 of 13 from the field in 32 minutes. And so with Modest Buzelis, he had an absolute highlight in the first quarter, behind the back, dunks on Derrick White. It was just nasty. I mean, just a filthy dunk right there. And so he continues to show the athleticism, and in fact, got a chance to look at the Inside the NBA show there with Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and then also to Ernie Johnson. And Charles Barkley referenced, like, hey, that's his guy. And so Modest Buzelis, man, showing the athleticism and just really putting himself on the map. And the Chicago Bulls, he continues to show growth here in year number 2. I like the fact that he knocked down some timely threes, especially in the third quarter. He hit like some back-to-back. He had a back-to-back sequence where he hit his second and third three-pointer there. This is now 19 games straight with at least 1 3-pointer. And so Modest Buzelis getting it done. And again, like I was saying here earlier, that he just needs to get to that mid-range and get to the foul line a little bit more. As you see, he didn't get there today. And so next, Isaac Okoro. And so with Isaac Okoro, look, he continues to play tough for this team. And I know, we looked at Isaac Okoro and we look at the struggle offensively and stuff like this, but this is the stuff that you're going to see from him. Just the scrappy play, hanging in there. He had some tough layups in this game, and he also knocked down some 3-point shots. One of those was wide open, but I like the fact that Isaac Okoro is not afraid to shoot the basketball. It doesn't matter if he's been struggling from the field. He's going to do that, and he's also going to give you some good defense. And so 12 points in this one. He had a +8 in the plus minus box score. You see that he also had the 2 blocks as well. So talking about that defensive activity for him, he had 1 assist, 2 rebounds. He was 0 of 1 from the free throw line. He was 2 of 6 from downtown and 5 of 9 from the field in 27 minutes. And so nice one from Isaac Okoro. And the next, Jalen Smith. And so with Jalen Smith, I loved his game. And it's just hard to imagine that Jalen Smith did not get into some games last year. And so Jalen Smith continues to have a great season. 14 points in this one. He was a +11 in the plus minus box score. He had 9 rebounds, and so he almost had the double-double again. 2 of 5 from deep and 6 of 10 from the field in 27 minutes. And so for Jalen Smith, what I liked about his game was his ability to not just stand on the perimeter. He had some nice plays where he cut in the start of the second half and got a nice dunk there. He also cut again and got a nice play at the rim, knocked down a 3. And so the activity level was there. He also took advantage, I think, of the size matchup that he had early on too in this game. And so I liked what I'm seeing from Jalen Smith. He continues to have a great season. And so next, off the bench. And so we have got to start with Josh Giddey. Look, I think that Josh Giddey did some things off the bench here as far as getting teammates just open for their shots. I thought he had some very nice assists there to Ayo Dosunmu on the break where he knocks down a 3. He got Vooch into some good situations as well. And so it wasn't about scoring for him tonight, but you see that he leaned on his superpowers, which are assists and rebounds. And so that's what you love about Josh Giddey. Doesn't necessarily have to score the basketball like he does, even though it's an added bonus. And so tonight, showing that he can lead off the bench here for us. And so 4 points, a -5 in the plus minus box score. He had the 10 assists, the 8 rebounds, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 0 of 2 from deep, 1 of 6 from the field in 24 minutes. I think it's going to be interesting what Coach Billy Donovan is going to do, especially since Trey Jones is out. Do you see Josh Giddey perhaps go ahead and get into the starting lineup? Do they lift the minutes restriction? We'll find that out. So next, another guy that played well off the bench for the Chicago Bulls, that would be Ayo Dosunmu. And so you see Ayo, 10 points. He was a -10 in the plus-minus box score tonight. He did have 2 rebounds, no assists. He did have a block shot, 2 of 5 from downtown and 4 of 9 from the field in 23 minutes. And so what I like about Ayo Dosunmu is he continues to shoot the basketball at a very high clip. I think he's one of the top in the league shooting the 3 ball. And I just love the confidence that we continue to see with him. You continue to see him attack the rim and everything else. He has been huge for this team coming off the bench. He will be huge for this team if you need him to start. Defensively, I feel like he's always all over the place. And so I love watching him after he scores. Just you can see the intensity on his face there. And so just loved what I saw from Ayo Dosunmu coming off the bench as usual. And so a solid game for him. Next, just looking at some other bench performers here, let us go to Patrick Williams. What got into Patrick Williams in this game? 10 points, a -7 in the plus-minus box score. He had the 2 personal fouls, didn't have any assists, didn't have any steals or blocks, and just 1 rebound, 4 of 5 from the field, and 2 of 3 from downtown in 16 minutes. But Patrick Williams, man, he had one play, baseline, he pump fakes, dunks, hangs on the rim, and then he had some great sequences where he's knocking down the 3 ball and everything else. And it's like, what? Patrick Williams putting it on the deck and attacking the rim like that? Patrick Williams, I got to give him a ton of credit in tonight's game in the limited minutes that he played. I think he was a huge impact for us. And so next, look, last but not least, Kevin Huerter. So Kevin Huerter, big time shot late, which we're going to take a look at that here in a moment, but 12 points, a +5 in the plus-minus box score, the 3 assists, the 6 rebounds, 2 of 3 from downtown, and 5 of 7 from the field in 24 minutes. And so, Kevin Huerter is a guy that even if he's not scoring the basketball, I do not worry about him. He plays with a high level of basketball IQ, and he's going to do everything that he can. And I think that he's an underrated defender as well, much like Trey Jones. I think that if you watch him on a night-to-night basis, he competes his tail off defensively. But I like the fact that, look, Kevin Huerter has been struggling from downtown. And, there's some nights that he has it going, but I think that there's been some nights that certainly he hasn't had it going. But I love the confidence from Kevin Huerter. And I just love that they trusted him to knock down the shot. And so, just looking at this play, I like the spacing. I like the ball movement. And again, he was able to shake loose in the corner and knock down a big 3. And that was the deciding factor here for the Chicago Bulls. And so just a great, nice play there for the Chicago Bulls late to get the win. And so anyway, that is the player box score. And so now I wanted to go ahead and jump into the team box score. And we take a look at this as the Chicago Bulls really, really got it done as far as shooting the basketball, especially from deep. I think that was probably one of the biggest takeaways is just really how well the Chicago Bulls shot the ball from deep in this game. And so they were 21 of 45 for 47%. The Boston Celtics, 15 of 47, 32% there. And so I think that is the first key takeaway out of this is that the Chicago Bulls shot the ball very well from deep. And then next, just taking a look at just the field goal percentage here for the Chicago Bulls. And so 51% from the field. You see that the Boston Celtics were 44% from the field. And so 43 of 85 for the Chicago Bulls, 51%. And then you see that the Celtics 44 of 99 for 44% there. As far as just the free throw percentage, this was interesting because there was not a lot of foul calls in the game. In fact, this was something that was mentioned throughout the telecast there. I think it was like so many minutes or something like that where the Boston Celtics didn't get a foul called on them. I think it was like almost 3 minutes or something like that, which was wild. And you could see Billy Donovan was pretty animated on the sidelines here. But both teams did shoot the ball very well, 88% for the Bulls, 89% for the Celtics. The Bulls out-rebound the Celtics 44-38 there. As far as the assists, the Bulls over 32 assists or over 30 assists. And so that is another recipe for winning a game for the Chicago Bulls compared to the Celtics 28. You see the steals there for the Celtics 10-2. Hard to believe they had that many steals. Blocks, The Bulls 6-5 there. Turnovers 15-6. The Bulls turned the basketball over at a high clip, gave up 18 points off those turnovers, but were able to overcome that. The Celtics just 6 turnovers and only gave up 5 points. But you see the Bulls were out in transition 18-8. Talked about one of those plays where Ayo Dosunmu was able to knock down a 3-point shot off the break. Nice pass there from Josh Giddey. 52-42 points in the paint. That would go to the Celtics. And then you see the fouls there, 15-9. And so more fouls called there on the Chicago Bulls. Both teams, their biggest lead was 8. So now that leads us to the final portion of the show and talking about Derrick Rose some more here. And so, look, Derrick Rose, to me, I just thought that he had a very just great speech there. And it just really reminds you that, look, man, the Chicago Bulls can certainly turn some things around. And like I said before, it just really reminds you that, look, man, you always have to believe. You always have to have that hope. And I just think that that is kind of what you see from Derrick Rose, just his story to get to the NBA and then also to what he was able to do for the Chicago Bulls and just really the city and everything else. And so, it's just a huge night to see that. I thought it was a great speech again. I like the fact that his teammates were out there supporting him. Even talked about Tibbs after he showed himself, just where he got injured in that playoff game, I believe against the Sixers that time. And so, just goodness or greatness, I should say, from Derrick Rose. And just I liked it. And I thought that they were going to lift it up into the rafters there. And so it didn't happen. It was already up there. So I thought that that was interesting too. But look, joining the greats, Michael Jordan and everything else. And so you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking as Derrick Rose gets his jersey retired. Again, so many moments, so many highlights from Derrick Rose and everything else. And so, it was just a great team that they put together. And the fact that they mentioned that, yes, they did make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, just were not able to overcome the Miami Heat against, LeBron and D-Wade and those guys like that. Just wasn't meant to be, and just didn't get a chance to get back there. And so anyway, hopefully the Bulls put together a team at some point in time. They are able to get over the hump, and we are able to see this team hoist up the championship again. But big shout out to Derrick Rose getting his jersey retired. Nobody else is going to wear number 1. So you guys let me know what your key takeaways were from Derrick Rose and his retirement or jersey retirement speech. And then also to let me know what your key takeaways were from tonight's game. Again, Kevin Huerter able to take the Chicago Bulls home with a game-winning shot. And so we love that. The Chicago Bulls, 4 straight games. I believe they are now set to take on the Los Angeles Lakers. Can they make it 5? Can this team put together a huge run, even with Trey Jones being out? You also have Zach Collins out as well. And so the injuries, that is something that has been a big part of the what ifs with this team, along with just really big decisions coming at the NBA trade deadline. I stand by what I said here earlier. I think that the Chicago Bulls are going to have to make some changes. I don't think that they can stand still at the trade deadline. And so we'll see what they do. But anyway, you guys let me know what your key takeaways were. And look, as we always say, go Bulls. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.